working out for me is something that puts me in control. And I think this is also why it helps like people with mental health. Fitness is something that you can do no matter who you are, no matter where you are, no matter what's going on. You're in control. And this gives even me kind of, satisfaction, like inner peace, I would say. Hey, Andy, good to have you on the show. Yeah, how are you today?
Thank you very much for having me. Great to be here.
Cool. Everything all right over there? All good?
Yes,
sun
so far
is
so
out?
good, yes.
Cool, perfect. So I'm super pumped to talk about some very sensitive topics today. We will talk about burnout. We'll talk about mental health. But first things first, can you maybe introduce yourself just in a few sentences, who you are, what you do? Just give us like a little introduction.
Sure. So my name is Andy Lavicka. I was born and raised in Switzerland. I'm 42 years old. From my last name, you can guess that I have an international background. My father was half Slovakian, half Hungarian. My mom's English. My wife is now Ukrainian. We have 9-year-old twins. So basically, they are the United Nations, more or less. I'm a burnout consultant, and I didn't study to be a burnout consultant, but I had a burnout myself in 2016, and now I'm on a mission to help people avoid burning out or to recover better, quicker, in a more sustainable way through my experience.
Got it. Let's go into this. You suffered a burnout. Can you tell me how that happened?
So I was working 100% as a financial analyst in a large pharmaceutical company. So this was a very competitive environment with a lot of tight deadlines, a lot of projects that we had to do. But still, my work-life balance was rather good. Then we had the twins, but still I wanted to do more. And then I was approached to be active in politics. Mm-hmm. So I was voted for to be on the local parliament here in the local town where I live. Then I suffered a back injury, so I had to stop playing football, but I still wanted to be involved in the sports club. So I was asked to be on the board of the sports club, and then later on I was the president of the sports club, mm-hmm. a rather large sports club, which had at the time 19 different sports that we offered and 1,000 members. And then some outside influences started to happen. My father had a severe stroke. He remained paralyzed and 4 years later passed away. As I mentioned before, my wife is Ukrainian, and in 2014, the first Ukrainian war with Russia started. So there was a lot of things not going well, not going to plan. And then at work, in this high competitive environment, I had a new manager. Mm-hmm. A new manager came on board, and for some reason, he didn't rate me, didn't appreciate me. Mm-hmm. And overnight, I turned into a poor employee. I must say the feeling was mutual. I didn't think he was a good manager. And all of a sudden, the foundation that I had, that held everything together, which was also the base for our lives. We just bought an apartment. I was the only breadwinner at the time. So this foundation that everything was built on started crumbling. And we specifically went to Malaga because from Malaga you can do nice trips to Sevilla, to Cordoba, to Gibraltar.
Okay, so basically you went on vacation to get some rest, but what you experienced there is like total exhaustion, and that you, as you said, couldn't get out of bed, right?
No interest to do anything, no energy at all. Obviously, this was building up. First, red flags, signs that I didn't want to see or chose to ignore. Then getting worse.
Can we go into those? You said like you saw the first signs. What were the symptoms in your case, and what are just like general symptoms, like when someone like starts, is in the very beginning of a burnout? What are the typical symptoms?
I'm a very good sleeper normally, and suddenly I couldn't sleep well anymore because my brain could not process what was going on. So I was used to pressure and so on. So I was always doubting myself, I can't actually manage, not wanting to do the things that you normally like to do.
I haven't suffered burnout, but I think I was also like pretty close to it at some point. And it's very interesting because like many of the things I experienced, it was like about 4 years ago, are very similar. It was just like I had a 9 to 5 It's a regular job. I had my side business, gym performance. We had just had the baby. I just migrated to or immigrated to Brazil. So everything was new to me. I had didn't know the language, had to learn a lot and just get used to the new culture and everything. I tried to work out every single day. And I could just tell, if I go on this way, if I go on with this speed and with this pressure and there's so many things going on, I will eventually burn out. And I remember telling my fiance about it, saying, man, I need to do something. I had those days at the weekend where it's just as you said, I just wanted to sleep, just sleep, nothing else, just sleep. So it's funny, for the two of us, it was both the sleep was affected at first. What could be other signs? Because at this stage, it's probably already pretty deep into it, right? It means something is probably terribly wrong. You can no longer sleep through. Something is off. Is there something that's earlier in the stage where you can say, okay, now you need to be careful?
For me, it was mood swings. Normally, I'm very calm and very patient. But when the kids start to ask me stuff, I was getting annoyed. And then this was also something that I start to realize that's not something that I want. I didn't have kids to be annoyed of them. I want to participate in them growing up. So my mood was affected very, very much in the beginning, if you like, before having the sleep issues. The sleep issues kicked in pretty early as well, but they got worse and worse. And I had weeks where I didn't sleep or maybe only slept for 3 hours a night for 2-3 weeks in a row. I was so tired I couldn't sleep.
That's crazy. What's going on when you actually want to sleep? You know you need rest. Where are you in your mind?
You can't switch off your brain.
Okay.
The self-doubt kicked in, and I was always asking myself, why? What did I do wrong? Why do I get this treatment? And why can't I manage the things that I have to do? And again, it was like a vicious cycle going back and forth to self-doubt. Am I not good enough? Or is it really too much? Or no, it can't be too much because others do something similar. And that was a big issue for me that I could not accept, basically, that I simply couldn't manage.
Would you say it was a pressure that you made yourself, that you just had very high expectations, or was it actually external factors that your wife or your boss or whoever it is said, okay, you need to perform?
So it was both. So first of all, I have high expectations of myself, and when I do something, I want to do it very well, 100%. The problem is if you have too many things where you have to do 100%, every day has 24 hours. There's nothing you can change about that. But also the new manager had different ideas of what my job entailed. So I had my old view of what the job should be. I wanted to justify that because I always thought that as a financial analyst, you have to be very client-oriented. And the new manager said, no, projects are the thing that we need to do. And then I had a conflict with that, trying to justify how I see the job and how he sees the job. And that was in itself a conflict as well.
Mm-hmm. What could you have done differently if you look back at the entire journey? Mm-hmm. Where would be the point where you now, with all the experience you have now, it's okay, this was you could have done something differently to avoid this?
So the problem that I had is that I wasn't very aware of what I really want in life and what my priorities are. And then small things like not being able to say no. Whenever somebody asks me something, I say, yes, I will do it. I will help you. Well, it's a pattern that I see in many of my clients.
Yeah.
So that was when I was recovering, working with the therapist, that we took a step back and said, okay, what do I really want to do? Today, I still want to be the president of a sports club. I still want to be involved in politics and in a million other things. But today, I have the knowledge that you can't do everything.
Yeah. Super interesting, because that's exactly what I do with my journal. As you know, I have my own journal. And the reason why I journal every single day is I write down the goals I have, long-term goals, but also daily goals. And I start my day with one of those daily goals. Because again, I want to be active rather than reactive, or proactive rather than reactive. I want to do something that I can be proud of and do something for me instead of just like replying to every email and replying to social media and everything. Then I just say, as you say, yes to work, and I do stuff for other people rather than working on my goals, right?
Yes, I think this is extremely important that you have your priorities. And this is how I work these days, right? Before, when I start working, I open up my laptop, but I don't go to email. I take something from my to-do list. Normally, it's something that I dread doing to get it out of the way. Mm-hmm. And then I start my day by getting myself a coffee, checking my emails, checking my messages.
Awesome.
I think part of interestingly, I have a client who not so much has burned out, but is procrastinating a lot. So with him, I work on productivity tools.
No.
Maybe you've heard of Eat the Frog or the Pomodoro technique, stuff like that. And I apply it these days every day because it's very helpful for me. Mm-hmm. I have my to-do list, my overall goals, where I want to be in a couple of years. Mm-hmm. Awesome. And then this is broken down to little steps. And every morning I start my day with not only doing the things on my to-do list, but also planning my day and the next couple of days.
100%.
Depending on how my work schedule is.
Exactly. Exactly what I do with my journal. Back then, did you have like such a morning routine already?
No. I was just functioning. At the very end, I was getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning. Today, I also do sport in the morning. So I wake up and I go for a run, or I have a rowing machine downstairs in the cellar where awesome. I row for 2.5 kilometers. Then I come up and have breakfast. And while having breakfast, I take my to-do list and look at what the day brings and how I can arrange myself. But when I was burning out, I had absolutely nothing like that. Yeah. My instinct was always open up emails, even before I went to the office. I did that at home and checked, I have to do this. Okay, I run there, answer emails. And then, as you say, I was not proactive, but reactive to everything.
Reactive, just like,
And at the end of the day, I felt completely exhausted, I was very busy all day. But then I look at my to-do list and realized that I didn't do anything really that was on there. And that was also very frustrating. And again, gave me the feeling that I'm not really good enough. And obviously then I had also conflicts with my manager because I wasn't doing the things that was
obviously
discussed to do. So it was a vicious cycle of me having to have to do this, that, without taking the time out, taking a step back.
I think we're having like a huge, or actually two takeaways right here. And number one is don't start the day with checking your phone. So no notifications, no email, no social media, because this is exactly what happens. You're going to check. Number two, having a morning routine is key. And I have the same rule, like the first hour of the day is for me. I go for a walk, I journal, I have my breakfast, and then I start with like what's on my to-do list. And I think it's so important. And actually glad to hear that from you.
Can I ask you something? And do you wake up rather early, or how is that? Because that's something also that I changed from when I was burning out. Now I go to bed rather early, 10:15, but I also wake up at 6 o'clock because I want to do the sports and I want to have some time for myself. Because at 6:45, I have to wake the kids, prepare them for school and so on. So then I don't have time for myself. So I also had to adjust my daily routine or my daily schedule.
How I do it, I get up every day at the same time. And it's super funny. Yesterday, for example, for some reason, my alarm on my mobile phone was deactivated. And I got up 10 minutes later than usual. So 6:10, I got up because because I'm so in the rhythm, my body's used to it. Yeah. Now, I tried to get up earlier, 1 hour earlier, even at 5 o'clock, right? Because then the day is longer, I can be more productive. But what I noticed, I'm just like more tired. And at the end of the day, I'm doing less work because yes, I have more hours, but I'm not as productive. So I rather as pretty much as you, I sleep at 10, 15.
So when I was burning out, I was looking into a lot of these productivity hacks, and you always have to find what is right for you because 6 o'clock is okay, but I can't wake up earlier because as you then say, I'm just tired. The same with having cold showers. Apparently it's very good for you. but I just can't. So I think there are many things out there that are very good tips, but you need to find out what is working for you.
100%. 100%. I'm not into like, oh, you have to, you can sleep whenever you're dead. You hear this saying over and over again, but no, you need to sleep, because if you don't sleep, then you won't be productive. And yes, there are people that are doing okay with like 3 or 4 hours of sleep for some days at least.
Yes,
I'm not one of them. I need it.
I'm a big believer of that sleep is a recovery period and extremely important. And when you Tom Brady, you must probably know the quarterback. He goes to bed 9:30 every evening and says he wants to have his 9 hours sleep, because for him to perform, okay, maybe it's a bit different because he plays professional sports, but a fraction of a second he has to decide where to pass the ball. And that fraction is gained by having a regular and enough sleep.
Yeah. It affects me my entire life when I have like a bad sleep at night. What happens is I'm less productive. There's no energy in the gym nor in the office. I'm just like, tired. And then moody is another one, of course. So
Yes.
yeah, sleep is super important, underrated in my opinion. And then of course, like when I'm in the gym and I work out, I'm not strong, not at all. And I have like the worst cravings. Like I want sweets. When I don't sleep enough, I want to eat junk food. I want to eat like sweets.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yes.
for me as a online fitness coach, I know it's super, super important to sleep enough. Yeah, I want to come back to your story. When was actually the point in your entire journey when you said, okay, you're suffering from a burnout? Was it just then when you actually went to the doctor? Or it seems to me your wife noticed that, okay, you need to check this.
And a couple of months before we went on this holiday, I woke up with a racing heart and I couldn't breathe. So I had like a type of a panic attack, I presume. And then in the middle of the night, I went to the hospital to check if I'm having a heart attack or something. And then the doctor there checked me out and everything was okay with my heart. And that was the first time somebody asked me, do you feel stressed? Because this is obviously a sign from your body that something is not okay. This was one of the first moments when I thought, okay, maybe something is off. Maybe I am too stressed. Maybe I can't manage. So yeah, but my mom's English and we had the poster at home, keep calm and carry on. So for me, it was always a case of whatever comes, I have to carry on.
You have to push through.
Which is not very smart, if I may say. There are ways to always be strong and carry on, but it has to be manageable in a sustainable way.
But I mean, it sounds so easy, but it's actually super difficult. And I had this like the other week when it was Friday afternoon, and I was just drained, and I could tell, okay, I need to change something. I'm having probably too many things on the table right now, and I need to slow down because otherwise, yeah, this will happen. I'm just going to be stressed all the time.
When I go and do presentations in companies about my burnout, there's two topics that I address. One is the 5 stages of my burnout, and the other one is the reasons for my burnout. And there are 3 main reasons. One is the environment that I was in, and too many things on my plate is the second. And the third one is my personality, being a pleaser and not saying no and so on. So having too much on your plate is definitely a main contributor. And most of my clients have issues with too many things on their plate, which they can't manage anymore.
You just addressed like a personality. Can you go into that? Like, so what do you mean by it depends on personality?
Yes. So my personality is prone to make everybody happy. Like I'm a pleaser, and everybody who wants something from me normally gets what they want or what they used to get. And the other thing is that I had to learn about my personality and, for example, how I recharge my batteries and what is draining my batteries. I'm an introvert, and for me, I recharge by having some quiet time, some me time. But I didn't know that. And the problem is my wife is the complete opposite. So we were once invited to a housewarming party. There were about 30 people there, and we were there. We spoke with many, and it was interesting. We had a good time. But after a while, I said to her, okay, come on, let's go home. I had enough. And she just went, I didn't speak with everybody yet. We can't go. and And after that, maybe another hour, I said, okay, now let's really go. And then we left. And on the way to the car, she was completely energized, wanting to go to the cinema. And I just wanted to go home to sleep because being surrounded by many people is energy draining for me.
Same. People think I'm very an extrovert, but in reality, I'm not at all. I also try to avoid the crowd, and when there's a lot of people, after a while I'm just okay, I need to have some me time. So we're not too different in this regard.
But you also need to know that you need to have some alone time, which is not necessarily given based on how you were brought up. Again, in this job that I had, you were always having to do presentations, showing numbers, trends, charts. So I was always exposed to different things that were energy draining, and I didn't have enough time or not the know-how to know what I need to do to recharge.
Okay. Now, as you know this, you know how to recharge your batteries. What do you do differently now? What are the actions that you take in order to prevent thing over and over again?
When I plan my week, as we discussed before, I specifically pencil in some time for myself. So, for example, tomorrow afternoon, my client canceled. Normally we meet at 2:00 in a restaurant, but I still will go to the restaurant and have lunch by myself, have something to read. And this is already very good if I can have an hour for myself. Go a bit later, so there are not many people in the restaurant. So, and this is how I make sure that I recharge in bits and pieces on a regular basis.
Okay.
Or for example, on the weekend, I think there's some kind of an event where my wife wants to go to. She will take the kids, but I will not go.
No.
And it was a discussion I obviously also had to have with my wife. But luckily she's very understanding and wants me to be well and also be fine for the kids and everything. So that was an important discussion to have. But this is how I try to prevent not to have enough energy in the batteries and recharge on a regular basis.
That makes sense. I can totally relate. And sometimes even I have one daughter and love her more than anything. But sometimes it's nice to have a evening for myself. Or when we were in Brazil, even a weekend, it was just so good to have just some me time.
Yes,
100%.
And the other thing that I like to do is I go running now and again. I used to play football for 30 years, but because of a back injury, I had to stop. And I have been doing sports all my life, so I try to substitute football with something. And I like to go running in the forest. So we live close to a nice forest, and this is then also what I consider time for myself. I have my music, and in the morning I try not to think about too many things, just be in nature and do my 6K run, which I try to do 2-3 times a week. And that is also how I remain healthy in terms of having batteries that are charged.
Interesting. That brings us to the next question I wanted to ask here. What role does sports and fitness have in recovering from a burnout, and then also obviously preventing burnout?
I think it has a very big role to play. For me, as I mentioned before, I played football for 30 years. Not to a very high level, but I was very active, training 3 times a week and having football games on the weekend. And when I had my back injury and I had to stop playing, I immediately noticed that something is missing and I need to do something else. And it's not only the sport or the exercise, it was also the social aspect of being in a team. Having some drinks after training and so on is something that also fell away and was missing. So that combination was, I think, very, very important. But also now I maintain a certain fitness level because I believe it's healthy. And when I feel healthy in terms of fitness, I feel that I can do more. I'm more productive. I have more energy. And I think there's several studies that also point to that direction with the release of endorphins and so on. That exercise as such has a very big role to play in mental health.
100%. When you have a client that is burned out, Do you just tell them, okay, you need to do sports? How do you tackle that?
Unfortunately, it doesn't work like that. No, I have various clients from various different fields, and as an example, one is a female scientist who never did any sports, and she's, I would say, not in the very best shape. So when I said, do you do exercise? She said, no, I hate going for runs. Yoga is not for me, and this is not for me. So I think what is important is to have a balance which fits for you. Moving is something that I find generally important, because if you have an office job and you sit or stand all day in front of a computer, I don't think that's good. So you need some balance to that. And then I try to take baby steps towards having people move more. And I just suggest them to go for walks, because if you didn't do any exercise at all, that is already a good first step.
100%.
And I think, again, being out in nature is generally helpful as well. So it really depends on the person in terms of what I suggest. I always suggest exercise, but sometimes it doesn't fit because the person never did exercise. And then I go baby steps with go for walks at least, go out and don't spend the entire day in front of your computer. Because movement as such, I think, is very important.
It's hugely important.
And also the reminder that another client used to do martial arts, but because he was so busy, he stopped doing it. And then he was wondering why he was not feeling well, not fit. And of course, if you used to do sports but not anymore now, it has an impact. And then I really motivate the person to pick up something again.
I actually see that over and over again. When people have a full schedule, then they cut out sports first. And that's a problem, because it will affect your productivity. It will affect your well-being. And the funny thing is, like, when people come to me, ask for help, Martin, I want to have more energy. We start exercising, and out of sudden they have more energy again, and they have like a better mood, and they just feel much better at work, and like have better relationships and all that. Yeah, and I can see that even walking can make a huge difference.
So you notice this in your clients as well when they come to you.
Absolutely,
they lack energy, and it's a positive impact. Yes,
honestly. In the beginning, it's oftentimes, my clients want to gain some muscle mass, lose some body weight. But what they realize when they do sports is that they feel much better, that they have more energy. And also, like at work, for example, something you don't think about. Like personally, how I do it, I start my day, and my gym time is usually then, when my calendar allows it, but also when I feel drained or feel like I could really need a break right now. I feel like I'm not as focused anymore. I go to the gym, and like my fiance can tell, I'm a super energized and just a new person when I come back.
This is why I try to do my sports in the morning, because when I wake up, I feel still a bit tired, because 6 o'clock is an early time. But once I did my sports, and after I took a shower, a warm shower, but still, then that's when I start to feel, okay, now I'm back. I have the energy. Where's my to-do list? Let's go. So I noticed that very much with me, and I want to do my sports in the morning to make sure I get it in.
Yeah. That's a good advantage. Like when you do sports in the morning, no matter how the day goes, no matter, like, I don't know, your boss asks you to work longer, whatever comes up, you've already done the workout. So
precisely, this is what I mentioned before. I restructured my day to fit my needs and my priorities. And one of my priorities is to be fit, more or less fit. Maybe I'm not as fit as you, but I played football for 30 years, and I want to be able to go on runs which are longer than 5 kilometers. When I was 20, I did easily 12 kilometers, but now I'm happy with 6. Because I do it on a regular basis. I'm out, and I also changed the way I do exercise, especially the running, because in the past I always had a goal of running a certain distance in a certain time. And for me, this has fallen away. For me, it's more important to do something on a regular basis. Because if I go running on a regular basis, I'll be fit enough to run a certain distance in a certain time. And so I implemented a system that takes me to my potential goal without having the goal as such.
very interesting because I think if you already have a lot on your table and you're stressed out already, and now you set yourself a goal, I want to run the 5 kilometers in whatever time, and you cannot hit it, then it's more stress than it does any good. So you need to be
Yes,
very
yes.
careful. That's
I was working with a therapist in my recovery, and she asked me, Andy, what is your happy child mode? What is a happy child mode? That's just something that you do where you don't have any expectations for yourself. You just do it for the fun of it.
hmm.
And I had to think about it, and I didn't have anything like that. Everything I did had a goal, had a certain expectation. And as you mentioned, when you have just goals everywhere to reach, you would not reach one, you feel depressed and down, and it's counterproductive.
For me, working out is also kind of therapy, I would even say, because like I remember whenever I would feel super angry or whenever I'm stressed, I go to gym, get into the zone, and I feel better afterwards. I'm not saying just everything is fine just because I went to the gym, but it helps me to process whatever is going on. Plus, when I work out, or working out for me is something that puts me in control, and I think this is also why it helps like people with mental health. Fitness is something that you can do no matter who you are, no matter where you are, no matter what's going on. Just by getting into a routine and doing something for your health, apart from all the benefits we just like explained, like the mood, and you feel better, more energized, and everything. It's just like you're in control, and this gives even me kind of satisfaction. I'm just like inner peace, I would say. Just this inner peace. I'm in control.
Yes.
That I don't have from maybe, what's going on there with war,
Yes.
what's going on. Even like in my family, I cannot control everything. But what I do, like with my body, what I eat, and like the sports I do, like I can control that, right? Do you follow a specific diet? What do you think about healthy eating? Is it important? Has it an impact even?
I think it's important, and I noticed that if I don't have a balanced diet, or if I'm leaving out too much of something, that I lack energy as well. I think it goes hand in hand with doing a workout. I tried various things like no carbs and stuff like that. But if I go running on a regular basis and do my rowing exercise, and I don't eat carbs, I feel too tired. So I need a certain amount of carbs. We reduced it, but I still need some. I noticed that, and I love pasta.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah. But then also, if I don't have enough protein, I get hungry very quickly. I have these whole wheat crackers and nuts, which are normally something that I eat in between, or fruit. I think nuts are important because they have a lot of important fats, and because of my problems with the joints in my back and so on, I think this is something that
helps for sure.
Benefits me functioning on a regular basis. And I noticed when I do my sports and I'm in a good state, I'm happy to eat healthy food. And when I'm in a bad mood, that's when I start to go to the fridge at 10 o'clock at night and get some Nutella and some bread. And stuff.
That's the strategy I used when I would live in Brazil, because in Brazil we would have almost every weekend like this family events, and at those events there's like a lot of food, basically a lot of sweets, a lot of cakes, and just like too much really. So in the beginning I was just totally overwhelmed, and I would go there and would be kind of lost, kind of bored even, because like I couldn't speak the language, and I just would eat. Like I would binge eat just like way too much. And over time I said, okay, whenever I go to such a family event, I go to the gym first. And exactly what he said, like I went to the gym, went afterwards to the event. I still felt not very comfortable, but because I felt good about myself, I did some sports, I wouldn't binge. So super easy strategy actually, but works.
It goes hand in hand, yes. And what helps me as well is I do the shopping on a weekly basis, and I try not to buy unhealthy stuff. So now for Easter we had some chocolate eggs, but not too much. Again, Nutella, I buy it maybe once a month. No Coke in the house and stuff like that, because it basically, I believe food and nutrition is so important as a base, which goes hand in hand with fitness and mental health.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me ask you, when you now have a look at all your clients, how would you describe their diets? Can you see like a pattern that they also like when they're burnt out that they, eat
Yes,
whatever or yeah?
yes. The problem with burnout is that you get into a phase that you don't care much. Normally, then my clients don't. It's a strong word. They don't take care of themselves, but it goes in that direction that they are not well taken care of. The hair is maybe not done so well like it could be, and this is something that you notice generally, that they don't take care of themselves so much. And part of that obviously is also nutrition. A lot have the sleeping issue, so they sleep in the morning, go to bed late at night, so their nutrition intake is also completely screwed up. So getting a structure in is something that I always work on, and then have certain meals, because I had also a guy who said, no, I want to try interval fasting. Okay, but if you don't have some food in the morning, of course you won't have energy until sometime later in the day. Maybe later on if you get used to it, but don't start with this when you're in this state.
I find it super interesting because we do actually different things. You're more into mental health, burnout. I'm more like exercise, fitness, but many things that we teach are actually exactly the same. Like having a routine, having structure in your life, morning routine, journaling, having a goal. Also making sure that you have some time for yourself, just some me time really. So yeah, I found this super interesting actually.
Cool. Well, and it really depends on the client. I mean, for my wife, the Corona lockdown was a big issue because she's a very outgoing person. So we try to arrange Zoom coffees with all her friends so that there's more interactions and so on. So I think it's very important that every client is different, but as you say, the base is more or less the same. And again, I didn't train to be a burnout consultant, but based on my experience, my personal experience and my experience with the clients, there is a thread which goes along as a base for everybody to stick to be healthy.
I think we both agree that sports and diet has a huge impact on how you feel. And my question is now, actually the entire discussion here, do you think sports and fitness can prevent burnout?
I think it can contribute to people not burning out. I'm not sure if that's the only thing that will prevent it. Yeah. If other things are going on too much, if you have too much on your plate, if you have a toxic work environment, it can definitely help you from not burning out or not burning out so badly. It would be nice if it could prevent it completely. I'm not sure, to be honest.
Yeah, neither am I. Neither am I. Someone who's into exercising, this can also be an addiction, right? And if you overdo it with exercise, it can go the other way. Then it's no longer healthy, but it can actually contribute to burnout. So
well, and I had the issue when I had to stop playing football and I was trying different things. I immediately thought, yes, I just go running on a regular basis. But then I didn't realize that I'm of a certain age and I shouldn't be quickly doing without stretching 12K. And then I had a muscle issue, a hardened muscle in my calf. So I think it's extremely important that you tune how much you do and what
absolutely.
you do.
Absolutely. If I have someone who is, let's say, self-employed, I have like a lot of clients who are self-employed, so they have quite a high stress level. They want to start doing sports, and they say, okay, I could probably do 5 times a week or even 6 times a week. And say, slow down. Let's start like with 3 workout sessions per week. And if you show me that you can do it and that you have like, that you feel okay with that, then we can increase that and scale it up instead of just going from 0 to 6 times a week.
It can backfire.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, I agree. It can backfire. And if you're then injured, you can be frustrated and lose your fitness even more. Yeah. So it potentially can, as I said, backfire.
Yeah. So I think it definitely can help to prevent burnout.
Absolutely.
But it's probably not just like this one factor. Like, again, there's like different factors that play a role, and you really need to make sure that have all the aspects in check, right? So not
Yes,
just diet.
and as we discussed, if you have your routine that fits for you, maybe not a morning routine, but the evening routine or whatever. If you're comfortable with it, I think this is already a very good base to prevent burnout. If you then can exercise on a regular basis as well, I think it can help a lot to prevent burning out or to burn out in a bad way before realizing it. Absolutely.
Yeah, I found this study here, and let me quickly read the results of the study that goes into the topic. It says, exercise has potential to be an active burnout intervention. Then the study also encourages companies to give access to regular exercise programs to their employees. What do you think about that statement? Do you agree that, like,
I think it's very helpful. But the company where I burned out, we had a fitness studio on campus, and the sports club that was also a part of the company, basically, where I played football for the last 15 years old. So it had a lot of these study findings in place. But first of all, the employees have to use it. I have former colleagues who burned out in the same company who knew there was a gym. They might even have gym membership, but if they feel too busy to go to the gym, then it's a very well meant initiative from the company, but there has to be the encouragement. Okay, no, take proper breaks, go for lunch properly, go for your exercise. Here's the we provide. I think companies can do more in general, but if they provide facilities, training facilities, I think it is very, very beneficial, but the employees then have to use it as well.
Two questions. Who is responsible for burnout? Is it the employer?
I get this question a lot. I think that's why when I say the three reasons why I burnt out is there's my personality, but also there's the environment. And I was in this environment before this manager came, and I was fine. So he definitely played a role. But I still think it would be too easy for me to say that I'm not at fault at all.
Yeah.
And if you think of it, I don't want to burn out again. So I had to take a long, hard look into the mirror as well to see where can I tweak stuff that I do or how I am to avoid burning out in the future.
I have this motto I live by, and say, like, I'm responsible for my life and my actions. And so like whatever happens, like, I think, and I don't want to attack you here, but I think you had a choice. You could have quit, you could have changed career, whatever. So
absolutely, nobody forced me to stay there. But because of my personality, I was afraid of change. And I had the income that provided the base for our life. So I was very reluctant to change. And I thought about it, and I was too paralyzed to actually take action. And I like the quote that you said, because the point where I started to feel better was when I started to take responsibility for my life. I stopped blaming others. Even though they played a role, nobody forces me to be around them. I took action, and once I said to myself, no, I don't want to sit at the dinner table and complain about my boss. I'm done with that. I'm in charge. Let's go. And from that moment, I started to feel better. I started to have the therapy that I was doing was having a bigger impact. And from that moment on, when I said, I'm in charge of my life, that's when I got better.
Yeah, this is something I do fairly often, and I have to give my clients even some tough love when I complain about, okay, working overtime or something that's not going well, and like, okay, why are you still there? It's like the fourth week you're telling me you don't like the job and you're stressing you out and you cannot go to the gym. Yes. Why don't you change it? It's your responsibility, really.
I think I mentioned earlier that one of the first things that I did with my therapist is take a step back and what are my priorities? I didn't have kids to be annoyed with the kids. What do I want in life? And then, yes, you have to take some hard choices. I left my big fancy corporate job. We had to discuss with my wife, what kind of a life standard do we want and how much money do we have to earn? You can't be naive and say, okay, I want to become a painter, but if you're a shit painter, then you won't earn any money. So you have to be realistic and not naive about that fact that we live in Switzerland or wherever you live, you need to generate an income, but you decide how much income you generate by deciding what kind of a life standard you want. So 100%. I think, as you said, everybody's responsible for their own life. Actually, You can't see, this is the quote I have on my wall.
Uh-huh. What's in there? I cannot really read it.
Change will not come if we wait for some other person or if we wait for some other time. We are the ones we've been waiting for. We are the change we seek. This is basically my life motto now. Yeah. We are all individually responsible for our own lives. Nobody else can screw us up or should be able to screw us up. Unfortunately, it happened. It happened to me. And as you say, I hold my hand up. I wasn't brave enough to change, but I also didn't know what I want to change to. Yeah. So I think this is a very, very important point. When you ask the question, who's at fault at burnout? It's, yes, me. The environment that you're in can contribute, but you're the one responsible. You're the one taking full responsibility and do something, change what you don't like. It's actually that simple, is it? Yes. What could, still a question about the corporate world, what could the employer do to prevent burnout? Let's say you're in a company and there's this one guy who's constantly stressed out, and maybe the coworkers, they notice. What could they do? Well, it's very difficult because my experience is that a lot of managers are being promoted because of their performance, not necessarily because of their manager skills or the people skills they have, so-called soft skills. So it really depends on the manager to allocate the work to his team according to the skills and the capabilities. Some people will be able to work more and they're happy to work more, but some, be it because they have some crisis in privately or not the appropriate skill set, then you need to approach maybe a training that he needs or she needs. So the manager really has to be able to look at his team, how to allocate the work load accordingly, that his people don't burn out. And I think this would be the absolute key, to give then also the person the time to recover and maybe retrain. Or I think it's extremely important that people should know it's okay to not manage everything. And once you can't manage everything, there are ways to manage what you need to manage. And it makes total sense to me. I just think it's probably in some cases, especially when someone works commission-based, for example, again, you're getting paid by your performance, and no, it is a very big issue. I mean, where I worked, my manager didn't care about his team. He just we needed to hit our budgets, and that's what he cared about. If somebody was dying, so what? When I was working there, my grandmother passed away. He didn't say anything to me. He didn't say, take your time, take a day off. When's the funeral? Nothing. He said, where's my budget? Money mindset. So it is a big issue. So the corporate world also has to have some kind of empathy and humanity towards the employees, which again, I'm not naive, is not easy. When I addressed the issue, or when my therapist asked me what environment I want to be in, or what a good manager should bring, I said humanity. And then she looked me in the eye and said, listen, I'm sorry, Andy, you work for the wrong company. I have 5 other clients from that company. They don't give a shit. Humanity is not something that they care about. Yeah, so this is just a number, basically. Yeah, probably was a good move to change and quit, right? I mean, I feel much better, really feel much better, in the sense that I don't have this weird fake pressure of having to deliver some numbers where I exactly know that if I would not have provided this number, nobody would have died. So it was really artificial pressure that people put me under. Oh, let's make a statement here. Like, I assume, I don't know, I assume back in your corporate job, salary money-wise was better, right? For the moment, yes. As of now. But you still feel better, healthier. Yes. In general now, right? 100%. So what me and my wife discussed is, what do we as a family have to earn? Because of the life standard that we defined, we managed to split this up, and we are both much, much better. She also used to work for the same company. I'm 100% convinced that, like, if you do what you love, if you have this passion, and if you're an enthusiastic person, money will follow. I'm 100% convinced by that. So just wait, and you will Well, this is why I said yet. Currently, yes, I earn much less than what I did, but I'm getting closer and closer by doing what I really am passionate about, and I'm working on a topic close to my heart.
And you can enjoy the journey. So awesome. One last question. If we have someone who is close to burnout, maybe or they have been in the past, or maybe right now, maybe in the future, what are 3 tips that you would give them? If someone comes to you, I'm close to burnout. What can I do?
So
3 tips.
I think extremely important is that you stop believing that there's no way out. That you take a step back and look at the situation and say, okay, is this what I really want? What are my priorities? What are my goals in life? I think this is very important and was the key for me, that I realized, okay, I don't want to be number crunching all the time. I want to work with people, help them, and so on. So I think this is very important, to know your own priorities. Mm-hmm. The second one goes hand in hand with that, is that you know yourself extremely well. Like I mentioned before, I'm an introvert. I now know, based on that, what I need to maintain energy levels to guarantee performance. I think this is very important as well. And then the third one, I would say, make sure that you're happy and not everything is tied to a goal and you're constantly running after something. Make sure that you have downtime with your family, a good balance, I would say.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so downtime, we have know yourself, and then know what you want out of life. So pretty much it. And again, here the parallels between like a burnout client and the fitness client. The first thing I ask my clients, okay, why do you want to actually achieve this goal? Why is it so important to you? And then I quickly realize it's either just like they want to look cool, and I already know this is not going to work out because like the why is not strong enough. Not at all. But if they have, maybe like there's like a story of illness in their family, or their father passed away because of a certain illness, and now they want to prevent that, or they want to be good role models for their kids, then it's much stronger why. And now, okay, yeah, he or she will succeed. It's like very important, super valuable insights. Thanks for that, Sandy. We are now 17 minutes in, minus probably 15 minutes when we had like technical issues. Maybe one last thing, where can people find you when they want to find out more about you?
I have a YouTube channel, and I'm very active on LinkedIn, and I have a homepage, lavickaconsulting.com, where I post a weekly or bi-weekly blog. My story is there as well, where you can find me. There's some links to some helpful websites as well. So this is how to find me. And my email address would be simply Andy with a y.lavicka@gmx.com.
Cool. Check it out, guys. Share some love.
.ch,
for Andy. .ch, Switzerland. Yes. Like one question that comes to mind very spontaneously: what are your plans now for the next few years? Where do you want to go with this?
So I'm actually meeting next week a colleague of mine who's a coach, and also he teaches grown-ups. And I want to have programs in place where people can find out what their priorities are and what they actually want in life. So some tools that I learned along the way, I think are very valuable, and not enough people have that knowledge or that exposure. So I would like to have some trainings in place, maybe for half a day or online or something like that, to reach a wider audience, because my experience is that the things that I teach or the things that I consult people with is not rocket science, but it's stuff that I didn't have before I burnt out, and I believe if I would have had these tools, I would not have burnt out.
Include me when you're there, when you go about it, because like I have this journal that I use myself, and it literally changed my life. I have some clients that use the journal, they love it. And I can tell when someone uses the journal, they will get better fitness results. Okay. Now, when I reach out to random people, and I did like 2 weeks just reaching out random people and said, okay, look, I have this journal. You might be interested because it's so powerful. And it was mind-boggling to me how many people would just say, no, not interested. I could have, man, it will change your life. It changed my life. Such a good tool, so easy. All you need to do 5 minutes of writing every day, and there's not interested.
Yes. I'm always very surprised when I talk about with my clients, how do you structure your day? Most people don't know how to do a simple to-do list. And that's what I say when I mean it's not rocket science, but in fact, it's not been taught, so people don't know it. I always was against journaling, and I'm actually currently fighting with a client because I suggest that to her because she's angry with her boss to get it out of her system, write it down. Makes you sleep better, makes you be calmer. You can read afterwards what you have written, and then you can better process it. As you say, for me, journaling or writing things down is extremely powerful. Absolutely,
it is. For me, like, I don't know, it's just weird to me that why some people are not interested in self-development. For me, it's like everything, and I want to learn, I want to get better and improve myself, and others are just not, I don't know, kind of as if they are already in the top. I don't know. I think that's actually another topic. I just wanted to share that. But yeah, I think we can wrap up the episode here. Do you have anything that you want to share before we end?
Well, just thank you very much for having me. I think it's an extremely important topic, and exercise can help a lot in terms of people not burning out, preventing it, or recovering. So good job to you as well, and thank you very much for having me and highlighting the issue.
Thanks a lot, Andy. It was like a lot of insights and very, very valuable. Thanks again. At this point, a quick shout out here to Daniel Jurkin. I'm not sure how I pronounce the name. He was like live here all the time.
Cool.
He was the one who said, "Oh, it's actually Andy who was lagging." He said he's actually in the gym right now and said he is listening to our live here while he's working out. So super cool. Now, with that being said, Andy, I would be happy to have you another time. Let's say maybe half a year or so from now would be cool to have you back. I will hit you up. For everyone who tuned in, thank you very much. Andy, thanks for your time. And I would say until next time.
Thank you very much, Martin. Take care. All the best. Andy.